Hi everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, Ibrahim. Good evening, Prince. And good evening to every other person on this call, on this live. I welcome you all to the day 4 of the Arthurite integrated webinar series. A big shout out to everyone that has been with us since day one. You guys are the real MVPs. Once again, my name is Motumayo Sanusi, and I'm going to be your moderator today. So if you are enjoying this series, kindly give this session a like and please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you. And also, if you have not been inviting your friends, please do so now by sharing the link. I'm going to be dropping it in the comment section now. Yes, I just dropped it. So kindly share this link to your friends and invite them to join the live. Share the love. We have so much knowledge to give. Thank you very much. Our topic today is going to be on streamlining development and operations, exploring AWS CodePipeline, code commit, code build, and code deploy. And our speakers are Paul Aderoju. I'm sure some of you already know him. And also we have somebody new in town today, Akonde Toyi. Yes, I'm very excited. Please, if you're excited too, kindly drop an emoji in the comment section. Thank you. Please, I want to be seeing your emojis. I'm not seeing anybody. And also, remember, we're going to be giving out AWS vouchers to some of our most engaging participants, and we're already noting them down. However, you still stand the chance to win. So stay active, ask questions, share your thoughts, and make the most of this experience. Thank you very much. We're going to be having Akonde and Paul now. Over to you, Paul and Akonde. You can start.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, okay, good evening once again. My name is Akonde Olalekan Tohib, and I'm a solutions architect at Arthurite Integrated. Today we'll be walking you through streamlining development and operations. We'll be exploring AWS code pipeline, code build, and code deploy. With me here is Paul Aderoju, who will be taking over this section together. So can you please also introduce yourself?
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Paul Aderoju, solutions engineer at Arthurite Integrated. It's good to be here again. I hope that we have a great presentation. Everybody learns a few things before the end of today.
Okay, can you please change the slide? Yeah, so the table of contents for today. The first one is overview of AWS DevOps services. Then we move on to automating CI/CD pipelines with code pipeline. Then managing deployment with code deploy, version control with code commit, building and testing code with code build. Then we look at updates and enhancements in AWS DevOps, right? So the first thing is overview of AWS DevOps services. Okay. So what is AWS DevOps? Before we can define that, we have two words. We have AWS and we have DevOps, right? AWS is a platform, is a company, and we have DevOps, which is also a combination of two words, development and operations. So a quick walk through what is DevOps. So DevOps is just a set of practices that combines software development and IT operations. It aims to just shorten the system development lifecycle and provide continuous delivery with high software quality. In simple terms, let's say I'm a developer and I want to build a software. I just write code. So the whole process of rolling out the software for users, for end users to use, is not just about writing the code. There will be some operations that will be performed before the code will be ready for use, right? Those operations are what DevOps deals with: code commit, committing code, version control, deployment, and so on. So now, AWS DevOps, right? AWS now provide tools to automate and optimize software development and deployment processes. In the past, before cloud, you want to start a company, you have to buy servers and all those IT resources on site in a data center, and you have to provision everything manually, configure everything before pushing out your code for to end users. But now, when cloud comes, they provide tools that will automate all these things, where thereby speeding up processes that can take hours to what to do. So that's just basically what AWS DevOps means. They provide tools, ready-made tools to automate things, automate what software development and deployment processes. Do you get that? Can you please send a confirmation in the comment section? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, Paul, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, nice. I got the comment. So now let's move on to the next slide. So we talked about AWS providing tools to automate software development and deployment processes. So in this AWS DevOps space, we have some key services that people use on AWS to speed up their development processes and deployment. The first one is what? AWS Code Pipeline, right? What does AWS Code Pipeline does? It is used to automate the stages of the software release process, such as building, testing, and deployment, right? In development, we have different stages. Let's take building a house, for example. Before you build a house, you need some, before you actually start building the house, you need some planning. You get an architecture, they try to draft out how the house will look like and all those stuff. Then you plan, you budget and all those stuff. Then you start the actual development. It's all the same for software development too. You want to build a software, you want to test the software. There are many things around it, many other activities that will be done. And in building, we have different stages. Okay, we have development stage where only the devs can see the code and check everything out. We have testing stage, then deployment stage. So all these stages can be managed using what? AWS Code Pipeline. Then we have another service which is called AWS CodeBuild. What does AWS CodeBuild does? It compiles the source code runs automated tests, and what generates deployable software packages. Right? Code pipeline is like a plan or a set of instructions. Okay, when you build, this is the first stage. If you build this, once you are done with this aspect of the development, you can do this, you can do that. Then for code build, it takes those instructions and turn it into what? Into a usable code that end users can use, right? AWS code pipeline, we've set up all the instructions for staging, for testing, and deployment phase. Then code build takes the code that you've written. It sets automated tests, right? It helps you with runs the automated tests that we set up, then generate a deployable what software packages that end users can use. So moving on to the next service, which is what AWS code deploy. You see, the first stage is like creating some set of instructions that will be used throughout the what development lifecycle. Then the code build, you take up your code, run test, then what generate a deployable package. That is when AWS code deploy will now takes up its own action. What does code deploy does? It what? It automates the deployment of applications to compute resources. Your software is ready, which was made ready by what AWS code build. Then AWS code deploy takes up the ready-made software package and deploy it what to the development environment, such as what EC2 instances, ECS containers, and what Lambda functions, whichever you whichever one fits your what your use cases. Then the fourth one is what AWS code commit. So AWS code commit provide monitoring and observability to track metrics and logs for applications and what infrastructure. So in development, right, you don't just write the code at once in a day. You write it bit by bit, one step at a time every day, and you save it. So code commit is just to commit your code, like like saving your code in, in a storage and giving it a very well labeled, a very it gives it a label that is very well understandable. Okay, you write a code today, then you commit it to the storage, you label it, okay, this is what I did this day. Instead of doing this thing manually, AWS code commit helps you with that. Now we've mentioned the four key services that are used in AWS DevOps. Now we have the key benefits, right? The key benefits of using AWS in your DevOps activities. The first one is what? It boosts developers' productivity by what? Automating repetitive tasks, right? Some tasks that will require that you should do every day repeatedly, you can automate it using any of the services we have mentioned, e.g., code commit. Maybe you can set it to always commit your code at the end of the day. The code that you saved, just commit it at the end of the day and give it a label. Okay, this is what you did that day. So that's the first benefit. The second benefit is accelerate delivery through what? Continuous integration and continuous delivery. In before cloud, before all this version control and all those stuff, development is very like a tedious work. We have many developers working on a project. They have to merge their code together before they can what push it to live. They take the files from this person's computer, another person's computer, merge everything together before they can push it to life. But now using tools, you can deploy your code as at the same time you are saving it. You save it now, it just deploy using what the automated tools. The third one is what it minimizes human errors. As we all know, computers are has um a very low probability of um of making mistakes, right? Since you program it, just run through the program and what perform the task that you've written. So that minimize human errors because we are not running things manually now. We are doing it what automatically. Now, talking about, are you all with me? Do you have any questions so far? And hope I'm not moving too fast. Okay. Now we'll talk about automating CI/CD pipelines with what? With code pipeline, right? What is code pipeline? Said code pipeline is a fully managed CI/CD service that automates the release process from code commit to what? To deployment, right? We explained it before. It's a set of instructions that guides our what? Development life cycle. The code commit, right? Sorry. So the code build takes the source code, it runs tests and what generates a deployable code. The code deploys it to what? To the compute environment. But the service that manages all these processes is what? The code pipeline. The key features of code pipeline, it integrates seamlessly with what? GitHub, Bitbucket, and AWS code commit. We all know GitHub is a version control system in development. So code pipeline of AWS, which is also an AWS service, can integrate seamlessly with what? With GitHub and Bitbucket, which are widely used by what? Developers. Then it supports third-party build and deployment tools, and at the same time, it provides real-time monitoring of what? Pipeline execution. So how it works, the source code, it fetches the source code from repositories. You can say repositories are what? Storages for codes. Then it builds the what? The code using what? CodeBuild. Then it deploys the code using what? Code code deploy. And this will be the end of my section, and I think Paul will take over now. Right? Paul, are you here?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much for it.
Thank
Okay, so we've been learning a lot about how AWS code deploy, code pipeline, code build, how they work. So we continue here by talking about managing deployments with code deploy. So code deploy basically automates application deployments across various compute services. So we're talking of things like EC2 instances, ECS containers, and also Lambda functions. And if you know that in today's fast-paced software development like landscape, so deployment complexity can be a challenge, you understand? So what Code Deploy does is that it is a powerful solution that can help you simplify and also automate your deployment process across diverse computing environments. So now, unlike the other kind of manual deployment methods, Code Deploy will provide a comprehensive approach to deploying and releasing your applications in a seamless fashion. And one of the key strengths of CodeDeploy is the versatility. As I said earlier, you're not just limited to a single service, so a single computing service like maybe just EC2 or maybe Fargate. Like you can use different types, multiple ones. You can work with traditional EC2 instances. You can also even work with containerized applications on ECS and even serverless applications like Lambda functions, which we talked about on Monday. And also, we co-deploy. You can have like a central or unified deployment strategy, which is actually usually present in other deployment options. So, and for the deployment strategies now, under co-deploy, there are two types. So you have something called in-place deployment, and the other one is blue-green deployment. So in-place deployment is basically just a straightforward approach that you can use to update applications. For just imagine this now. Imagine like you have like a running application on a server, maybe like an existing server, and you need to update the content of the application. So basically, with in-place deployment, the code deploy will directly modify the status of the application on the current instances, like an EC2 instance. And so basically now the use case for this is usually for like say small, less critical applications you get where your minimal downtime is acceptable, you understand? So just think about this deployment strategy like performing a maintenance, for instance, on say your car while it is still running, you get. So yeah, like like there's some things you can do to your car now. It's not like imagine you take your car to the mechanic now and they're just like maybe a oil change or something. It's not like you're changing a major thing. Do you understand? So like small bits of things that need to be changed. So you're making updates directly to the existing infrastructure. That's what you need to put in mind. It is, but the fact that it is fast, it is quick, it's simple, but it also carries the risk that if something goes wrong during the deployment, it can actually impact the live application, causing service interruptions. Now, the other type of deployment is called a blue-green deployment. I think anybody you have if you are conversant with AWS services, that terminology, blue-green, should ring a bell. So definitely, so what it is like, you are basically just creating a new environment for gradual traffic shifting and you're minimizing disruptions. So what it means is that you're like creating like a mirror image, you understand, of your current production environments. So that's called the blue one. And then when you're ready to deploy, you create the green environment with the new version of the application. So basically, you have an existing application running. Now you want to make changes. So what will happen is that CodeDeploy will first create a mirror image of what is existing, and then make changes to that mirror image, and then push it. Do you understand? So it's not. I don't know. It still has the same concept of the DOM and virtual DOM in React. If you're a front-end developer, you understand how the states in React get updated. You understand? It's not a direct mutation of the existing states. It's just first creating a virtual version of it or like a copy of it and then making the change only to that particular point in particular parts of the application, not the entire application per se. I hope I have been able to explain that very well. I tried as much as possible to use scenarios. Let's go to the next slide. So now, the key benefits, definitely, of using CodeDeploy. I mean, the benefits of CodeDeploy, they extend far beyond simple automation, and because of the fact that CodeDeploy supports multiple platforms, kind of gives you a consistent deployment experience regardless of your infrastructure complexity. So, you can be managing deployments across EC2 instances, containers, serverless functions, and with CodeDeploy, it kind of gives you a uniform approach. And also with CodeDeploy, you're going to have a reduction of downtime. You understand? Traditional deployment methods usually often require like complete system, or most times for traditional deployment methods, the existing application first has to stop as a service and gets updated, then gets redeployed. But with CodeDeploy, especially using something like the blue-green and deployment strategy I talked about, you can minimize disruptions, right? And also the built-in rollback capabilities. I think something I actually forgot to mention. CodeDeploy has like rollback capabilities that you can use as a safety mechanism in case for some reason your deployment does not work as expected. You can just basically roll back to your most recent deployments. Um, Now, the best practices when using CodeDeploy, you have to be really strategic. You understand? You need to understand your use case and how best you can work with it. Um, Firstly, using the blue-green deployment for critical applications is very important to ensure reliability. As I explained earlier, you have in the blue-green deployment strategy, you have like what happens that CodeDeploy will make like a mirror image of your existing deployments and will only mutate or change what aspect of it that needs to be changed before it now deploys it. So it doesn't change the entire application. So it makes a lot of sense because you are kind of yeah, it's kind of yeah, should I say you're confident that it's going to be difficult for your application to break if you use this deployment strategy. Unlike the other one, where the entire code application needs to change, right? Another best practice is that you need to leverage Amazon CloudWatch here for deployment monitoring. Once you deploy, you have to check your logs to know that to sure that things are going as expected, right? So now, yeah, we'll be going over to code commits now. Code commits is actually a fully managed source control service that hosts secure Git repositories and it has the ability to support a lot of functionalities such as pull requests, code reviews, and other things. So you just imagine a system where code modifications can be systematically like reviewed, integration, right? Very similar to, I mean, it basically works in line with Git. So key features basically is that you have secure storage and management of your code with encryption at rest and also in transit. And also you have seamless integration with other AWS DevOps tools, which is actually where it excels. But I'll just note something actually. For now, for some reason, AWS, you cannot create a new code commit. So in case you might want to be doing that probably after this session, I'll just let you know that code commits is kind of, I won't use the word deprecated, but you cannot create a new code commit. Although if you have an existing code commit, you can do that. So, but don't be afraid. You can still work with Git. You can authenticate Git for the other CI/CD applications such as CodeDeploy, CodePipeline, and the CodeBuild. Here, you can work with Git. Just that for code commits, it's not the service. You can't create any code commits. Right, but we'll still look at it and see how it works. So basically, it's very similar to Git. You push your code. So when you go to the code commits, you create like a repository, like what we do in GitHub, and then you make a commit, push your code to the repository, and then after that is done, it triggers. So it's collaborative workflow. So in case it's a repository where other people are contributing to, so we can use pull requests and code reviews to ensure that whatever code has been pushed is approved. After that is done, then you can now trigger automated pipelines using CodePipeline. So most times now this can be done manually, right? You can do this from the console, or you can actually use YAML files to explicitly explain all these things. You can, I don't know if there's any DevOps engineer, that YAML files are what we usually use to programmatically, build, deploy, and run our pipelines. So now, yeah, building and testing with CodeBuild. So CodeBuild represents the next evolution in continuous integration. It's not just a build service. It's actually a comprehensive platform that handles like compilation, you want to compile your code, you want to test your code, and you want to generate artifacts. Right? So it has the ability to support multiple programming languages and frameworks, also build custom environments, which makes it very flexible, right? And the automatic scaling of build processes is actually a game changer while using CodeBuild. So it can scale to automatically handle multiple builds at the same time and also support custom build environments. And the fact that it's also integrating with AWS Secrets Manager and other AWS services, what makes it very, very, um, very useful. So how does it work? For AWS Code Build, what you do is that you would configure your build projects with source repositories like code commits or GitHub. So for now, you'll see that if you go to AWS Code Build, you actually can only use GitHub, and then you will run unit tests, build code, and generate deployment artifacts, and then you now integrate with CodePipeline for end-to-end CI/CD workflow. So look, I like to look at this thing like I want to paint a picture. So CodePipeline is like say the should I say like the service that is monitoring everything. It's like the completion of all these other services. So it's monitoring from the points where you deploy probably to your Git repository or to your code commit repository. Then now, so for a developer, you can actually decide to use a spec file, like a YAML spec file, write out your entire build configurations. Okay, your commands will be maybe like npm run build, but if you're using a node package or something, right? You build your file. Then you can also declarative state from the YAML file. Okay, this is where you should put the artifacts. Do you understand that? So we said you can use it to test. So if there's any command you want to use, so there may be like your run test, npm run test, or whatever command you want to use to run a test. You can also specify there in your build file. So you can specify, okay, maybe if the tests do not pass, do this, or if the test should pass, then you can generate the artifacts and then store it probably in an S3 bucket or somewhere else. Do you understand? And then you can now use CodeDeploy to deploy the artifacts. So CodeDeploy later, but that's like the general idea I should be having when you're looking at this CI/CD tools. Do you understand? So now, there are some challenges, right? That have been identified that most of these CI/CD tools usually, that's what the challenges that they solve. The first one is the manual processing. The manual processes are slow, and the manual processes they slow down release cycles. Rather, yeah. So basically, if imagine you were having to configure a new server anytime you make a deployment, you have to you configure the server or the pipeline or wherever you are working with. But definitely using CI/CD tools, you can basically just automate these processes with a click of a button or just a single command, and you can monitor each stage of the pipeline, right? And also for the challenges, we have that there's increased risk of errors during deployments. Definitely, if you're not automating things, imagine you probably forget to add a particular environment variable in your configuration or something, which can really happen. But with using the CI/CD tools, you can achieve consistent builds and testing with CodeBuild, right? And then definitely scaling. There's always difficulty scaling CI/CD pipelines to meet demand. If you are working in probably like large or enterprise places where a lot of builds can be going on at the same time, leveraging these CI/CD tools that we talked about will be very useful. So now, conclusion: the AWS DevOps tools are more than just like technological solutions. You actually need to understand that they are very, very important in day-to-day, like especially for someone who's a DevOps engineer, and they represent like a fundamental shift in how we approach software development. So by trying to automate repetitive tasks, basically they free developers so that you can focus more on innovation. And also we've talked about the fact that there's a lot of reduction in risk for deployments. You can also use them to foster collaboration from code commits. You can also create more streamlined, efficient workflows. The key is not just the individual capabilities of each tools. I told you there are about 4 different tools: code commits, code build, code deploy, and code pipeline. So it's when you use them in unison that's when the beauty really comes into play. All right. So we actually have a demonstration that we would have loved to do, but the only problem is the fact that demonstration is going to be quite long, and each part, the explanation of each part of the demonstration will take a lot of time, right? And might be a bit technical. So what we decided to do is that we would record the video from our end for demonstration, which might be quite long, and then we'll upload it to YouTube, and then we'll send the link across at a later time, probably by this weekend or before next week, so that we can really explain each process in the demonstration, and you can always go back to it because the process itself, because we are configuring 4 different services, right? And in each of these services, you have to create things like your IAM roles, an entity for each roles, attach those to the services, right? Just to follow the best practices. So we decided that we will record this video for you and then get across to you, send the link so that you can always go back to these videos to have a clear understanding. But thank you very much. Motrario, are you here? I think there were some questions.
Thank you very
Hello,
much, Paul.
Motrario.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Toy. In this how many minutes? I learned a lot already. So we have some questions in the comment section already. So I'm going to be reading out some of them. So the first one from Ibrahim says, for company that is operating on hybrid, is it advisable to use AWS code pipeline or use other CI/CD such as GitHub Action, GitLab, etc.?
Okay, when you talk about hybrid, what do you mean? Is it like hybrid cloud? That's what you're trying to
Y-
talk. Or
Yes, probably they were if they want both on-prem and cloud.
yeah, that's okay. Okay, I think all right. So yes, the funny thing is, on AWS CodeBuild, actually, there's a part where you can specify where you want to generate your artifacts, where you want to store them, and this hybrid version of it is actually like having like an on-prem server is an option there. So definitely, the answer is yes. You can definitely utilize these sensitive tools. And the beauty with AWS is the fact that there are a lot of solutions that cross across hybrid, cloud computing, right? So even apart from these CI/CD options,
Paul, are you there? Or is it my network? Can you hear me?
Hello, hello,
Okay, I
hello.
think Paul network. Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You can answer the question too, since the Paul's network just dropped. Mm.
Yeah, I think he was close to finishing his stuff. So he said for companies operating on hybrid, that means maybe their employees they are coming on site and they are doing some part of the days remotely, right? Can they use AWS code pipeline? Which I think we've said it before. AWS code pipeline can work with GitHub and all those third party platforms. So it's very easy for them to choose the one that is convenient for them based on their use case. I think Paul left. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. I guess that yes.
Hello,
So
can
the
you hear
next
me?
question, I can hear you, Toib. So the next question
Yeah, okay.
says, how can I monitor and troubleshoot issues with my within my code pipeline?
So that's a very good question. The first thing I'll talk about is what you check for errors, right? You examine the execution history of your what code pipeline in the AWS console. So you look for specific error messages. In AWS code pipeline, it has a console where you can check for any error messages if at all your code runs into an error. Then you identify the failed stages. Your code cannot fail in all stages at a time. At the same time, it will fail at a particular stage. Once you check for the errors, you have try to what identify what the failed stages. Then you inspect your source code, check the branch, check the source connection, then you can then what rebuild. So that's basically the simple process of what troubleshooting your code pipeline.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
My God. So I've been speaking for a while, then I realized that the network was
Sorry.
okay. So what? Okay, no problem. So what was the last thing I said that you heard?
Okay, the next question, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I answered the question. I completed it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. So the next question is: does the code build act like a code development environment like VS Code? Okay. So no, no, that's not what CodeBuild does. So
So
VS Code is a code editor. Do you understand? Primarily, right? A code editor for you to like write your code, to run your code and stuff like that. It has like stable files. Code build on the other hand, basically, so if you write an application, say you write like a front end application, like a React application now, right? I want to deploy it. Then you have to build the application and then generate the files, like the zip files or static files that will be deployed. So code build is the service. If you're a developer, I'm very sure you're familiar with terms like npm run build. At least if you're deploying to like say a website, you want to deploy it as a static website, like maybe a web application now. So code build is an automated way for you to do these things. So the way code build works is that you will specify the builds there's something called a build spec. So most times you can write this build spec by yourself, or you can do it manually from the console. But most times I usually prefer writing it by myself. Um, let me let me see if I can share my screen. I want to just because I have my source code here, so that I can further explain what I mean. So I'll share my entire screen actually. So you see, okay. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen. Please,
Okay.
if you guys can see me pause screen, kindly comment that you can see the screen.
Yeah. So what are you seeing? Like, I want to know what you're seeing. Is it
I'm
video they are
seeing
seeing, right? Some code.
yes,
Good.
yes.
So exactly. So this file is a build spec file. This is the file. You know what I wanted to use for the demo. Actually, this is what I will be using rather for the demo. So now you can see the name of the file, build spec.yaml. That's another markup language. So now in this build spec, I'm just specifying. Okay, the first thing is specifying the version. So now I'm specifying the phases of the build, and also specifying things that need to be installed. Now, the runtime for this application, this is a Vite, or Vite rather, Vite.js is a React application created using Vite. So I'm specifying that, okay, Node.js, which is the engine that's going to run this application, this is the version I want you to run for Node. So now then the commands that I'm saying, okay,
run npm install. Npm install is basically what I'm using to install all my packages, which I here in my package.json, right? That's what I'm using to install the packages. It's called npm install. That's the command. And then when that is happening, I'm sending this to the console or yeah, installing dependencies so that I can know what's going on. Now, the main command, which is to build this entire application itself, is called npm run build. And basically, this is what builds the application to generate the artifacts you get. So now, instead of post build, I'm saying, okay, I want to prepare these deployment artifacts. So I'll create a directory called artifacts, and then I'll copy. So when this is a Vite.js application. So when you run npm run build, if you're using any Vite.js, you see that it creates a file called dist. So that is basically like the artifacts that were created from running this build. So I'm saying that, okay, copy these artifacts, copy it somewhere, and then paste it in this other file called artifacts. And then I'm specifying that, okay, these artifacts are in this place is this place called file. Sorry, these artifacts are in this file called artifact, so that in the next stage of my CI/CD pipeline, which is to deploy this thing, my deploy, yes, my deployment, my code deploy knows where to pull the artifacts from digits and then deploy them. That is it basically. I'll explain more in the demo, you understand? But I think you should understand from this, and you should need to understand like what the build does, right? So it's not like VS Code per se. Okay.
Thank you very much, Paul. We have another question from Ibrahim. In terms of cost, which one is more cost effective? CodeBuild or Apache Maven?
CodeBuild or Apache
Uh,
Maven.
Yes.
If you are talking about Apache Maven, the only Maven I know about is used for Java. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Please, can you be a bit more specific? Apache Maven is what I know is like a CodeBuild itself is like a CI/CD platform, but for Apache Maven, I think it's more used for Java, but I might be wrong. But that's what I know Apache Maven from because I've worked on some Spring Boot projects and remember seeing Maven. So Apache Maven, so I think is more specific for Java applications powered by Java in the backend. Yes, from what I know about. So, but for cost, I mean, CodeBuild is something that runs on AWS cloud. So everything the is pay as you go, right? So you don't need to pay for things before, and you're only going to pay for whatever you consume or you do. You understand? So I would most likely want on my own go for AWS CodeBuild. You get?
Okay, we have one other question from Imran Abdulaziz. It says, what are the security considerations when using these services? I think Akonde or Paul can respond to that. More Akonde.
Yeah, maybe Toy wants to answer that. I think Toy wants to say something about that. Okay, I think Toy is probably um not it's probably having some network issues. So yeah, the security considerations. So there's encryption. Just know that when you're using this CI/CD pipelines or these services rather, everything is encrypted both at rest and in transit. In short, that's like the most basic thing while using these services on AWS. There's
Hello, can
encryption.
you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, my network has been. Okay, what are the security considerations when using these services? Right? As you all know that in AWS they have a term they use in security when it comes to security. That AWS is in charge of security of the cloud, and user is in charge of security in the cloud. So you have to take over your security. And some of the best practices when using AWS services is to use the least privilege by creating IAM rules, setting permission boundaries, and so on. That's the first thing in general. And using code pipeline, you have to have a secure source code management by saving your code in GitHub repository that are protected, not public repositories. They are will be private. Then managing your credentials, your .env credentials, and all those sensitive information, saving them securely. Then securing your artifacts, right? Once the code pipeline generates your artifact, you have to what? Store it in a secure place using S3 buckets, creating access controls, and all those stuff. Then secure build environment, secure deployment targets. Then the most important thing, you have to monitor and log your stuff using cloud trade, and you should always check your what security measures regularly, update them, use the best one, and make sure everything is up to scratch. So I know what.
Toyib. I don't think we have any other questions for now.
Yes.
But okay. Toyib, you want to say something?
No,
Toyib,
no,
are you
not
saying
at all.
something?
Not at all.
Okay, no problem.
No, no.
But if you have any question, please feel free to reach out to us. We are live on every social media, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can call our number. Let me share our contact details again, once again. So we are live.
So, hello, are you still there?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, Paul. Can you hear Mutsurai?
No, I think it's probably having some network issues. So yeah, I think what she was trying to say that we are live on every
Just go
social
on.
media. Yes, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. We are everywhere, and we keep posting every day. And also, tomorrow we're having something exciting. We'll be having a quiz session at the end of tomorrow's presentation. So tomorrow is our last day of the webinar. We are very grateful to have, to have a lot of you joining every day, and we are really happy that you have been able to learn a lot. But also, we'll be having a quiz tomorrow at the end of tomorrow's session. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about AI, so artificial intelligence, so a very interesting topic. And then we'll have a quiz that covers the entire webinar series from Monday to Friday tomorrow. So I mean, that's your chance to be able to probably win something from us. We have AWS vouchers in place. We have some other interesting things too, and also we have internship opportunities. So just avail yourself the opportunity to be there tomorrow. Attend the quiz. If you need to watch some videos from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or today, you can do that before the quiz tomorrow. All right. So may the best person win. Okay. And also, yeah. So this is also another reminder about our AWS partner events taking place on the 29th of January. That's next week, Wednesday, at our office at number 2 Noble Street, Kilo, Surulere, very close to Ogulano Drive. Once you get to that roundabout in Ogulano Drive, just ask for Noble Street, just about a 5 minutes walkable distance from there. Okay, it promises to be exciting, be able to learn a lot of things. We have very interesting keynote topic. We have 2 panel sessions. It's just you meet with other like-minded people, network. It's just a place for you to be really, and I don't want you to miss it. All right. I think Mishra is back. Mishra, okay. I think without any further ado, can end this session. Thank you everyone for joining in, and see you again
Okay,
tomorrow.
sorry, my
And let me
apologies. Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you everyone once again. Good night.